talk about that.
Yep.
That's the best
Hi,
opening to an
Jon.
episode ever. Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good to see you again. I like the lights you got in the background.
Well, thanks. It's my little festive winter lights, I guess.
Lovely.
Today we're talking about on-camera presence. What's
Like
that
Christmas
about?
presents.
Yeah, presence.
We
Not
got a present
present.
today. And yeah, so I want to talk about that in two major sections, which I think anybody could guess. The first one starts with an A, audio.
Audio.
You know what the other one is?
Visual.
Wow, it's good. She's got it. But I think we can break those down into a couple different sections each. So like setup and execution, right?
Yes.
Big hint, the setup is the easy part. It's
Yeah,
also the expensive part.
it could be.
Yeah.
I would
It
say it
doesn't
could
need to
be.
be. But I think the
Yeah,
execution is the more important part, right?
right. Exactly. I think
Um,
that they work hand in hand.
yeah.
You can't do a good one. Can't do a good execution if you don't have a good setup, and you can't do a good setup if you don't have good execution,
But
I
I think that
guess.
if you had great execution and a terrible setup, you'd be better off than if you had great setup and terrible execution.
True. I see your point there.
One on the board for me.
Oh, there's a
My
competition. I forgot.
chalkboard. Yeah.
But if you are listening or watching, make sure you go to rizpod.live to get all the show notes and all the links that we are going to be sharing for this
That,
episode and past.
that is the only point that matters. Okay. So first section, audio setup. Good mic,
Mhm.
quiet room. That's about it. I have a decent mic. I don't know. I barely have a quiet room. I have children in my house, and they run
Yeah.
by.
Yeah, I think, the mic, I think a lot of people want the best mic out there, the best, gear. For the long time, I had like the most basic mic, but I didn't have a good, there wasn't a lot of sound protection in the room. Speaking of children, hi, children.
Can you already hear him? Oh boy.
Yeah, that's
Does
all right.
StreamYard have a feature for that yet? Children blocker?
Reduce children background
Yeah.
noise. Let's go on the town hall and suggest it. No, yeah, and so I had a mic, but not a boom mic, so it was like on the desk, and so anytime like I touched the desk or wrote notes, it definitely made a big deal. So you can have a great mic, but a bad executed setup, so to say.
Right.
And then I upgraded, got a better mic, and then I tweaked it to make sure that it worked good for my setup at home.
There you go.
Um,
Nice. I thought that my muffler was big enough to block children. Apparently not. Usually they're out of the house. That didn't happen today. Nothing I can do about it. Can't change record day.
it's okay.
Finally, thing you could have is sound effects. That's kind of really going above and beyond, right? It's like really high level. What I like to have for sound quality is hot water.
Yeah. Today I have
My
cold
voice.
water, but normally, yeah. Normally I have some hot coffee going on, but
And then finally, like audio setup, biggest thing I do is just try to turn the episode into like something with a logical flow. So just not a random conversation. So it's hopefully, I don't know, easy to follow.
yeah, I think it comes with experience, when you can have a really high level outline, logical flow, but also you don't need to be an expert or a longtime podcaster to understand that, like, it's just like if you're going to go talk to a friend, like, what you're going to talk about. You have maybe one or two things you want to cover, or like you're talking to your boss, like, it just a small prep session or a small outline will definitely help. We do pretty lengthy outlines, in my opinion, for what I've seen before. Thank you, Jon, for helping that. But also we need it for post production
Right.
and post, utilizing that for other things. So it
1 minute
serves
of
two
planning
purposes.
saves 10 minutes of execution. Right.
Right. Exactly.
But audio part two. So once that's all kind of set up, the harder part actually being engaging when you're on.
Yeah.
So for speaking, it's like energy, tone, pace, pauses. So energy, No, no, like energy. It's just like, don't do it if you're not excited about it. Don't even
Yeah,
why
yeah.
bother? Um,
I think that's a number one problem for a lot of people. They wanna do it, they see other people have high energy or, different levels of energy, and then they start recording and they overthink it, and they're not really having high energy, right? Or, like, engaging energy. You don't have to be, like, doing jumping jacks, but one of the things that I say people to do is actually to do jumping jacks, like, I'm just moving my seat around, but, um, getting up and doing that right before you hit record and not really thinking too much into it, like, you have to have, like, super high energy and you have to be this most engaging person, but, it definitely does help.
Wake
Small
yourself up
things.
physically, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Otherwise, I think just right tone comes from energy, like,
Mhm.
or just at least for us in this situation, and then like for meetings, being just having a conversation with a person makes it easier, especially when you
Mhm.
can see them responding, etc.
Yeah.
Right? It's like easy to
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that'd be tough. Like for the people that do like straight podcasts where it's just like them just looking into a microphone like by
Yeah.
themselves for an hour. Like, how do you actually stay on the right pace?
Yeah. Um, well, my hope is that people that do it solo have someone in the background, like, telling them or coaching them. But it does help with, different tools to, like, guide your flow or I don't know, do some speaking coaching. I don't know exactly what would be the best thing, but I think practice makes perfect in that sense.
Yeah, recording yourself and listening back to it, I guess, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
As long as you're giving yourself grace in that too, because I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't like the sound of my voice." And you're like, "Well, that's how you sound to other people." Like, John, you're not gonna be like, "Oh my god, I don't." I mean, maybe you could be like, "I don't like the sound of her voice." Well, you probably wouldn't be doing a podcast with me, but there are people that, like, have that, problem and they don't listen to themselves, and it's like, "Well, that's how you sound."
yeah,
So,
you just gotta listen to yourself more. You can kinda get over it, right?
yeah.
Let's see, next thing is just, like, I think for the audible engagement is just, like, listening properly,
Mhm.
right? And just,
Mhm.
like, reacting to your audience,
Right.
right?
I went,
So
"Right. Uh-huh. Yeah."
hey, you got it. So those audible reactions, right? But I think it's just like real life conversation. Like, I think one of the number one like networking tips for when you're like listening to people or talking to people is just actually listen. Don't be thinking about the next thing that you're going to say.
Mm. Yeah. Thinking about you're listening to respond instead of listening,
Yeah,
and a lot of people appreciate that. I mean,
yeah,
I do. I tend to it's funny because they have these AI tools, this is a side note, they have these AI tools where they can record your meetings and stuff, and I look at them sometimes and I'm like, I'm always on, like, 10 to 20% of the call because 'cause I'm literally listening to what someone's saying or I'm asking a question, and these are just, like, meetings, right? But I'm asking a question that evokes people to tell a story or respond or tell me what they need versus
right.
me dominating the conversation.
Yeah.
Um, we should do that for, like, networking events, and then, like, at the end of the networking event, the one who talked the least gets, like, a prize. No, I'm just kidding. That would be
Interesting.
fun.
Yeah.
You have
Best
little
best
drones, like
listener award. That's a good one actually. Um, And then, yeah, obviously on like virtual meetings like this, making actual eye contact and like paying attention
Yeah.
to people can be tough because you're like, we want to look at the person, but you typically like to make eye contact, you have to look into the webcam. So you can't do both.
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, setting up this episode, I used my Plexicam for the first time. I got more and more excited about it the more I started thinking about just like how feedback in a conversation through eye contact just really
Mhm.
creates like a positive spiral, right? Where
Right.
you're like more engaged in the conversation. And so you can be more engaging when you speak. And then you're
Mhm.
listening. So you're like, you're responding better, faster.
Right. Yeah, I can't it's funny because like, everyone's like, "Oh, look at the camera," or look, you're on a Zoom call and how many times are you looking at someone and they're, like, looking down or something like that, and you're just like, "Are you listening to me?"
Yeah.
or are you doing something else? And oftentimes, they're not doing something else. It's just the way these technical tools. So yeah, Plexicam. We both have a Plexicam right now. So if you don't know what it is, we'll definitely be talking about it more. But this is the box tool with my little dog that ate the part up there. But
Yeah, it's super simple. It just lines your camera webcam up with. You don't have to wear it on your head. It lines your webcam up with your vision,
with Plexicam
with the
and
person's
without.
eyesight. So, yeah. Sad person, happy person. Perfect.
Yeah.
Um, the next section, visual setup. Super important for this stuff is just like internet connection, computer speed.
Mhm.
Right? That's just 1.0. Best camera in the world isn't going to help without that.
Right. I've had that happen on a few, meetings, and you just end up like rescheduling the meeting. So imagine if you're actually creating content for your brand or your business, and um, it's a bad video, or it's choppy, or the lighting is not good, or the speed of your live stream connection is not well. It's like it can make a big deal, no matter how good your audio is.
Right.
So,
But then other things, yeah, like camera, get a decent camera. It doesn't have to
mhm.
be amazing. Not one of those old laptop, like what is it, 380 pixels or something? The terrible ones. You're like blocky, or basically what is that? What is that? Block Lego? It's like your Lego or the I'm sorry, not thinking the name of the computer game. I'm terrible. I'm so
Oh,
old.
Tetris.
No, it's not Tetris. It's
But
where you
I
build
don't know.
stuff with blocks in a world online. Anyways, somebody's gonna kick me when they hear this. But my lighting background today, you can see I mentioned your background earlier. I was hoping you're gonna mention mine. Today's episode is brought to you by U-Haul. I'm I'm moving people, and this is my
Yeah,
spare room. So
life
these
life
all the
happens,
boxes. Yeah. But background can help. I'm sorry for the distractions today when I'm talking about
No,
on-camera presence.
no, you're making good eye contact, so I hope that people are not really looking at, or if they're listening, they're just hearing us have a good conversation about on-camera presence. To recap for the setup: internet connection, computer speed, camera, lighting, background framing, dress, what we're wearing. Today I'm wearing white. I normally wear black.
You normally blend in the
Um,
background. And then this next one, I wasn't sure where to put it this in like setup or execution. So like visual aids. So like slides, overlays, camera angles, props, magic people like Harrison Kramer, virtual magician. Um,
yeah,
that was good. That's magic. You're magic now. Wow. If you are listening to this just audio right now, you got to come and see Marissa's magic.
right. Go to like the 13th minute and watch.
Wow.
Magic.
But I don't know. Is it like it kind of blends between these kind of things? Like obviously, oh, that's a lot of setup for Harrison, but it's all
Yes.
execution when it's on the call, so it blends.
Yeah. And he's a
But
magician. He's always got, his magic basically set up. We're not magicians, so we're not doing that today. But, there was part of that to, today, like how was our camera setup, how was the layout we have, the camera angle. We obviously had to adjust it a little bit with the Plexicam. We're so used to our cameras being on top of our screens. And now it's like, okay, we had to practice a little bit to move it. Like I was looking up here before, and now I'm like looking down here. And so I'm like, we gotta practice it, sit up differently, all those things.
yeah, it makes sense. And then next thing, sorry, I think there was something I missed there. I have no idea what it is. Can you cut that part out? You can do that now, right? Just cut that part out.
Yeah.
um, but no, I've totally lost it. Next part, like speaking. Oh, I wanted to say just about like feedback. Um,
Mhm.
if you're
Oh,
like
right.
in those situations where you aren't like, it's easy for us, right, easy for me right now to react to my audience because my audience is you, and then I assume the rest of my audience can listen to me while I speak to you, right? But for
Yeah.
those people that can just deliver like full 20-minute monologues or speeches,
Mhm.
when they're just looking into their microphone, or just seeing themselves back on the camera, um,
Mhm.
being able to use something like StreamYard to be able to pull up comments at the same time would at least be It's not like eye contact, but it's a good way to get feedback live if people are watching and responding
Mhm.
in real time, right?
Yes, making your content, whether it's live or recorded, figuring out a way for it to be engaging visually, but also, I mean, it has to be visually because you don't have anyone there with you. I mean, you could have someone behind the scenes or in studio audience. I mean, I don't know. There's many different ways, but yeah, we do have another episode that talks about making your event engaging, and we say event, it could be something like this, but there's a lot of different ways to do that. But it's so important.
But yeah, so the next part is just like on-screen execution. And so one thing, facial expressions, obviously, it's so much easier with people. Like
Yeah,
writing this episode, I had such more respect for people that can just deliver into a camera with nobody there. I think
yeah.
it's an amazing skill. But nodding, listening,
Yeah.
facial expressions.
Uh-huh.
Body,
Or,
what do you think about body movement? Is it like, do you want to try to keep still, or what do you think? Like hand
no,
movement is
I mean,
okay?
it's unnatural. There's we're gonna be in the digital age where, there's cameras on everyone. There, you're basically, we're not gonna be, but we're the next round of college graduates are gonna is so used to being on camera. I don't know if that's very true for everyone because, like, I just had a mentee and she was like, she doesn't really like being on social media. That might be some, like, holistic thing that she doesn't want to be on, but there are people that just have no issue with the camera. They're just there, right? So they're moving, they're being natural. It's not like stiff, like,
And
no.
why are TV news broadcasters like just they never move?
Well,
And Ryan knows the weather.
that might be in Canada. No, I don't know.
Maybe we're
Here,
we're
I
about
mean, they
here.
do have more people, like, even like the weather people, they're in front of the camera, doing their hand signals and all that, and there are and I think it's just a matter of because these studios are not built for, maybe cameras aren't set up where they can be moved. They're just like, stationary, so you have to stay that way, but who knows? We don't get to see a lot of news stations these days, behind the scenes at least. So
Let's
I'm
see.
all for body movement. So
Got it. All right. Um,
and hand
what
gestures.
and hand gestures? I'm
I
terrible
can't
at
see
hand
your
gestures.
hands. Put
My
them
hands
in.
are my hands are in my pockets right now. It's
You're like,
awful.
I'm not using
I'm
my
the worst
hands.
speaker in the world. um, yeah, the like final item with these though is like making that eye contact with the camera again. It's like it is one
Yeah,
of those visuals that just makes people listen, right?
yeah.
You know it just from in-person networking. Like imagine we were talking to each other in person. I was just like blah blah blah, blah, blah. Like no matter what I was saying or how cohesive it was, it'd be hard to pay attention if I was looking way up to the roof. Is
Look
there a
over here.
spider?
I'm
Is
here.
there a spider? Or like
There's spider. Oh my gosh. Oh, I laugh so much when we record these. Imagine you were talking, yeah, imagine talking to that person and you, like, want to work with them. Like, to me, that just tells me you don't want to make a connection. You're just so distracted and it's time to get out of that situation, walk away.
yeah,
So listening, my favorite part.
yeah. Again, just you got it.
Yeah. My facial expressions, listening or making, like, if you say something that I might not agree with or I definitely agree with, like putting my eyebrows up and, like, making sure that that I'm listening or that people watching this, like, our conversation is actually, flowing and we're listening to each other. Um, we talked about hand gestures and body movements and stuff like that, but you can nod and that's like that knows you're listening to someone.
Right.
If you do a live stream versus recorded, which is what this is, are you reading the comments? Yeah, I mean, we're talking about making eye contact, but if one of your tactics is to read comments or get feedback, then looking over and like looking down is not a bad thing because it's a natural thing. Like you can't read comments and look at the same time. Like it's just not possible. Like, what? So yeah, no.
Awesome.
Uh
But yeah, it's I think really realistically, just thinking about this episode, I think that the listening part, for when you're having conversations like this, at least it makes you, one of the best things you can do to be present is just to listen better, right?
yeah, be
Didn't
present.
mean to didn't mean to mention your company there.
Yes, you did. Yeah, and in in summary, in that sense, is Plexicam makes it easier. I mean, I know that they, their main thing is like making eye contact when you're on video calls, but we're doing a video recording that's a podcast, but it's going to be way more impactful because I'm looking into the camera and you're right there behind me. I'm not like looking elsewhere, right?
Yeah,
So hopefully we'll be able to put up a picture of our setup or something like that because I mean you can go to Plexicam and look at how they're how they're setting up, but we have to thank them for sending us some examples of this to so we could loop in this product and this thing when we talk about on camera presence.
yeah. No, I think it was
Yeah.
an awesome fit for this episode. It really just, writing this, it just really came more clear to me, like how much having that eye contact here in a meeting just creates that positive feedback loop,
Hmm.
right? Thinking about just staring up into a camera while still trying to listen to somebody, like the having to choose between, it's like it's kind of
Hmm.
just there's a real break in that system, right?
And you're not reading their body language when you're just staring, trying to make sure that you make eye contact, but you're making eye contact into the webcam. You're
Yeah,
not reading if they're like feeling uncomfortable or like if they make a facial expression that like is like, like, do you need something like clarified? Like you're not even seeing that because you can't look at two
yeah,
places at once, making eye contact. It's like that's what we're going to talk about. I mean, we're talking about it. So, did
right.
you have something else?
No, I think we've been through everything that I kind of want to discuss about different components of on-camera
Hmm.
presence. Um,
Hmm.
do we want to recap that to make it shorter for
Yeah.
people? Summary, just
Yeah.
for those people that only have 90 seconds, or
Yes. Let's recap right now.
there we go.
This is your RizPod recap in less than 90 seconds, brought to you today by Plexicam. Key takeaways. Number one, on camera presence requires both a good setup and effective execution. Audio setup includes using a good microphone and finding a quiet room. These are important for engaging the audience. Energy, tone, pauses. Visual setup includes considerations such as internet connection, camera quality, lighting, background, and how you dress. And lastly, visual aids, slides, overlays, maybe banners down at the bottom can enhance your on camera presence. And that's your Riz Pod recap in less than 90 seconds. If you are listening or watching, we hope that you got some valuable tips from on camera presence, both audio and visual. If there's anything else that you want to cover or get more information on Plexicam, you can go to our website at rizpod.live. John, I'll leave you with the last thoughts.
Boxes, people. I think just a testament to just no matter what is happening in your life, you still gotta get out there and make that content,
Yeah.
right? Kids
Yes.
screaming outside the door, room full of boxes, just go for it. It's
Yeah. Thank you, John. We'll see you next time.